No reason. She kissed him. And for a few minutes, Adrian felt ridiculous for doubting her. Then her phone vibrated. Vanessa glanced at the screen. Her expression changed for less than a second. She picked it up. I need to take this. At 9:30? It's about Saturday's foundation event. She walked into another room. Adrian remained in the kitchen. He didn't follow. He didn't listen at the door. But something Marcus had said returned to him. Somebody is interested in what happens to your assets after you're gone. The following afternoon, Adrian received another surprise. His executive assistant entered his office carrying an envelope. This came by private courier. No return address? She shook her head. Adrian opened it. Inside were 3 photographs. The first showed Vanessa leaving a restaurant. The second showed her entering a black sedan. The third showed a man waiting beside the passenger door. Adrian recognized him. Julian Cross. 38 years old. Investment consultant. Wealthy family. Charming reputation. And someone Adrian had welcomed into his own home more than once. On the back of the final photograph, someone had written, "Ask your wife where she was Tuesday night." Adrian stared at the pictures for nearly a minute. Tuesday night. Vanessa had told him she was attending a committee dinner. He called Marcus. "I need you here." 20 minutes later, Marcus entered the office. Adrian handed him the photographs. Marcus studied them. "You know him?" "Julian Cross." Marcus looked up. "How well?" "Well enough." "Do you want me to investigate?" Adrian walked toward the window. Every instinct told him yes. But another part of him still wanted Vanessa to give him an explanation that made everything disappear. "No." Marcus frowned. "No. I'll ask her myself." "Adrian? She's my wife." "Exactly why you shouldn't confront her before we understand the trust request." Adrian turned. "You think these things are connected?" "I don't know." "Then say what you're actually thinking." Marcus hesitated. "I'm thinking coincidence becomes less comforting when it happens twice." Adrian hated the sentence because it made sense. "Fine." He took the photographs back. 48 hours. For what? Find out who requested the trust amendment and whether Julian has any connection to it. Marcus nodded. "I'll call you." That evening, Adrian didn't mention the photographs. Vanessa was unusually affectionate. She ordered dinner from his favorite restaurant and suggested they spend the weekend at their lake house. It almost felt like the old days. Then, while they were eating, Vanessa casually asked a question. "Did you ever finish updating your estate plan?" Adrian's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. He slowly looked up. "My estate plan?" "Yeah." She smiled. "You mentioned it months ago." He didn't remember mentioning anything. "What made you think about that tonight?" Her smile weakened. "I don't know. We were discussing wills at lunch today." "With whom?" "The girls." Adrian held her gaze. Then smiled calmly. "No. Haven't changed anything." Vanessa nodded. "Probably smart." But her hand tightened around her glass. Adrian noticed. 2 nights later, Marcus called. It was 10:16 p.m. Adrian stepped outside onto the terrace so Vanessa couldn't hear. "I found the source," Marcus said. "The trust request?" "Yes." "Who?" "It was submitted through a boutique estate consultant." "And who contacted them?" Marcus went silent. "Say it." "Julian Cross." Adrian felt something inside him collapse. "You're certain?" "I have the correspondence." Adrian looked through the glass doors. Vanessa was inside laughing at something on television. His wife. The woman he trusted more than anyone. Does Julian have legal authority to change anything? No. Nothing happens without the proper approvals. The inquiry itself doesn't give him access to your assets. Then why make it? That's the question. Adrian closed his eyes. Marcus continued. "There's something else." "What?" "Julian and Vanessa have been meeting for months." Adrian's grip tightened around the phone. "How many months?" "At least 6. The city became silent around him. "Are they?" Marcus didn't make him finish. "The evidence strongly suggests they're having an affair." Adrian stared at Vanessa through the window. She turned, noticed him outside, and smiled. Adrian forced himself to smile back. "I'll call you tomorrow." He ended the call. When he returned inside, Vanessa walked toward him. "Everything okay?" "Perfect." She kissed his cheek. "Good." The next morning, Adrian made a decision. He wouldn't accuse her yet. He wanted facts. Not anger. Not assumptions. Facts. Over the following week, Marcus quietly documented meetings between Vanessa and Julian. Adrian discovered hotel reservations, private dinners, and communications that destroyed every remaining doubt. But then the situation became stranger. One afternoon, Marcus called him urgently. "We found searches linked to an account associated with Julian." "What kind of searches?" Marcus chose his words carefully. "Questions about what happens to privately held shares when a major shareholder dies unexpectedly." Adrian became completely still. "Anything illegal?" "Not by itself. But combined with the trust inquiry and the affair, I don't like it." Neither did Adrian. That evening, he quietly updated his security arrangements and instructed Marcus that no estate changes were to be processed without direct verification. He didn't tell Vanessa. 3 days later, Vanessa announced she wanted to cook dinner herself. Adrian almost laughed. She hadn't cooked in months. "You?" She playfully pushed his shoulder. "I still remember how." That evening the dining room looked beautiful. Candles. Soft music. Adrian's favorite meal. For the first time in weeks, Vanessa seemed relaxed. Maybe too relaxed. She walked toward the bar. "I made you something." Adrian watched her prepare a drink. She carried the glass across the room and placed it in front of him. "To us." Adrian looked at her. "To us?" 8 years. She raised her own glass. "And many more." Adrian hesitated, then took a sip. 20 minutes later, his vision blurred. He reached for the edge of the table. Vanessa stood. "Adrian?" His heart began pounding strangely. He tried to speak. Couldn't. The room tilted. The glass slipped from his hand and shattered across the floor. Vanessa screamed. Adrian collapsed. The last thing he saw before everything went black was Vanessa standing above him. And behind her, on the kitchen counter, her phone lit up with a new message. From Julian. When Adrian opened his eyes again, he couldn't understand why the ceiling above him was moving. White lights passed overhead one after another. Voices surrounded him, but they sounded distant, as if he were underwater. Someone was squeezing his hand. Another person was calling his name. "Mr. Cole, stay with us." He tried to answer. Nothing came out. His chest felt impossibly heavy. His heartbeat seemed fast one moment and frighteningly slow the next. He remembered the dining room. Vanessa. The glass. Then the message glowing on her phone. "Is it done?" That was the last clear memory he had before darkness swallowed him again. By the time the ambulance reached St. Matthew's Medical Center, Vanessa was sitting beside him with tears streaming down her face. To the paramedics, she looked like a terrified wife watching her husband fight for his life. But inside, something entirely different was happening. Vanessa's phone vibrated. Julian. She ignored the first call. Then the second. Finally, while the medical team rushed Adrian through the emergency entrance, she stepped away and answered in a whisper. "Stop calling me." Julian's voice came quickly. "What happened?" "He's in the hospital." Pause. "Is he conscious?" "No." "Did he say anything?" "I don't know." "Vanessa, you need to know." She glanced toward the emergency doors. "I said I don't know." Julian lowered his voice. "Then don't panic." She almost laughed. "Don't panic?" "My husband collapsed in front of me. And you're the one who called the ambulance." Vanessa closed her eyes. That detail mattered. Whatever Julian believed would happen that evening, Vanessa had panicked when Adrian hit the floor. She had immediately called emergency services. "I never agreed to hurt him," she whispered. "Keep your voice down. You told me the drink would only make him sick enough to miss the board meetings." "Vanessa." "You said he'd wake up." A nurse suddenly approached. "Mrs. Cole?" Vanessa immediately ended the call. "Yes. The doctors need some information." She followed the nurse inside. For the next several hours, Adrian's condition remained unstable. Specialists ran tests while nurses moved rapidly between machines surrounding his bed. Nobody could initially explain why a healthy 41-year-old man had suddenly collapsed. Then a physician named Dr. Samuel Harris entered the private waiting room. Vanessa stood immediately. "Is my husband going to be okay?" "We're doing everything we can." "What happened?" "We don't know yet." His heart rhythm became dangerously abnormal, and his blood pressure dropped significantly. Vanessa swallowed. Could it have been something he ate? "It's too early to say." The doctor's eyes stayed on her. "We're running toxicology and metabolic testing as part of the evaluation." For a fraction of a second, Vanessa stopped breathing. "Toxicology?" "Standard under the circumstances." She nodded quickly. "Of course." Dr. Harris continued. "Was Mr. Cole taking any medication?" "No." "Supplements?" Not that I know of. Any recreational substances? Absolutely not. Did he drink alcohol tonight? Vanessa hesitated. One drink. What kind? I made it. The words left her mouth before she could stop them. Dr. Harris made a note. What was in it? She listed the normal ingredients. Nothing more. After he left, Vanessa immediately texted Julian. They're doing toxicology. His response came less than a minute later. Delete our messages. Vanessa stared at the screen. Then another message appeared. No. She began scrolling through months of conversations. Hotel plans. Photographs. Arguments about Adrian. Questions about the trust. Messages about their future. Her finger hovered over the delete button. Then she stopped. Something about Julian's urgency frightened her. Instead of deleting everything, Vanessa opened a hidden cloud folder and backed up the conversation. She didn't know why. Maybe instinct. Maybe fear. Maybe, for the first time, she was beginning to understand that Julian had never been as honest with her as she'd believed. Across the city, Marcus Reed received the call at 1:06 a.m. Adrian's head of security told him only that Adrian had collapsed at home and was hospitalized in critical condition. Marcus was dressed and inside his car within 5 minutes. During the drive, he remembered Adrian's instructions from 3 days earlier. If anything unexpected happened, Marcus was to secure the estate documents and notify the trustees immediately. At the time, Marcus thought Adrian was being overly cautious. Now those instructions felt terrifyingly specific. When Marcus reached the hospital, Vanessa was sitting outside Adrian's private room. She stood when she saw him. What are you doing here? Adrian's attorney. He's my husband. I know. Her eyes narrowed. What does that mean? It means he asked me to handle certain matters if he became incapacitated. Vanessa stared at him. When? Recently. Something passed across her face. Fear. Marcus noticed. Did Adrian think something was going to happen? I didn't say that. Then why would he suddenly make arrangements? Marcus looked toward the intensive care unit. Maybe because he believed preparation was better than regret. Vanessa folded her arms. You're making this sound suspicious. Am I? She looked at him sharply. Before either could continue, Dr. Harris emerged. Mrs. Cole? Vanessa rushed toward him. How is he? We've stabilized him temporarily, but his condition remains extremely serious. Can I see him? Briefly. Marcus spoke. Doctor, has the cause been identified? Dr. Harris looked between them. Not yet. Vanessa immediately said, Marcus isn't family. I'm his attorney, Marcus replied. That doesn't make you family. No. He looked directly at her. But it does make me responsible for protecting his legal interests. The tension between them was obvious. Dr. Harris refused to discuss further medical details without appropriate authorization and returned to the intensive care unit. Vanessa followed a nurse into Adrian's room. Marcus remained outside. Then he called Cole Meridian's head of security. Locked down Mr. Cole's executive office. Already done. Nobody accesses his computer without my authorization and the company's security protocol. Understood. Also preserve security footage from his residence. The security chief paused. From tonight. From the last 30 days. That's a lot. Do it. Marcus ended the call. He wasn't accusing Vanessa of anything. Not yet. But Adrian had spent the previous week investigating an affair, a suspicious trust inquiry, and Julian Cross. Then he suddenly collapsed after dinner. Marcus didn't believe in convenient coincidences. Back inside Adrian's room, Vanessa stood beside the bed. For the first time that night there was no audience. No doctors. No nurses. No Marcus. Just her and the unconscious man she'd married 8 years earlier. Adrian looked smaller, surrounded by machines. Vanessa slowly reached for his hand. Adrian? Her voice cracked. She had imagined leaving him. She had imagined divorcing him. She had imagined starting over with Julian. But seeing him like this was different. I didn't know. Tears fell onto the blanket. I swear I didn't know. She squeezed his hand. Julian said it would just make you sick. The monitor continued its steady rhythm. Vanessa leaned closer. I wanted you out of the way for a few days. She began sobbing. I didn't want this. Outside the partially closed door, neither Vanessa nor Adrian noticed the small security camera mounted high in the corner of the private medical suite. And they definitely didn't know that the hospital recorded video in that area for patient security. Hours passed. At 4:20 a.m. Julian arrived. Vanessa met him downstairs instead of allowing him near Adrian's room. "What are you doing here?" "I came to make sure you're okay." She stared at him. "You need to leave." "Vanessa. You lied to me." Julian's expression remained calm. "About what?" "The drink." "You don't know that." The doctor said. His heart nearly stopped. "That could mean anything. You told me it would make him sick. And that's exactly what happened. He's in intensive care." Julian glanced around. "Lower your voice." Vanessa stepped away from him. "What did you give me?" Julian's expression changed slightly. "Nothing dangerous." "What was it?" "Vanessa, right now we need to focus." "On what?" "Protecting you." She laughed bitterly. "Me?" "Your husband is critically ill after drinking something you prepared." Vanessa went pale. Julian stepped closer. "Think about how that looks." For the first time, Vanessa understood the position she was in. If Adrian died, she would be the wife who had made his final drink. Julian continued quietly. "That's why you need to delete our messages." Vanessa stared at him. "Why?" "Because they'll make an innocent situation look terrible." "Innocent?" "You know what I mean." "No." She stepped backward. "I'm starting to think I don't." Julian's face hardened. "Don't become emotional now. My husband might die." "The husband you were planning to leave." Vanessa slapped him. The sound echoed across the empty lobby. Julian slowly turned his face back toward her. Neither spoke. Then he smiled coldly. "Be careful, Vanessa." She stared at him. "Is that a threat?" "It's advice." He turned and walked away. Vanessa watched him leave. And for the first time since their affair began, she was afraid of him. By sunrise, Adrian's condition appeared to improve slightly. Marcus remained at the hospital. Vanessa refused to leave. At 8:15 a.m., Marcus received a call from his investigator. "We found something about Julian." Marcus walked toward an empty corridor. "What?" "He's in serious financial trouble." "How serious?" "Potentially catastrophic. Investments collapsed, personal guarantees, lawsuits. We're still calculating." "Estimate." "More than 20 million. Marcus looked through the glass toward Vanessa. "And the trust inquiry?" "We traced additional correspondence." "To Julian?" "Yes, but there's something important." "What?" He wasn't only asking what Vanessa would inherit. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. "What else?" He wanted to know how quickly assets could become accessible after Adrian's death. Marcus said nothing. The investigator continued. "And he specifically asked whether Vanessa could authorize transfers before the estate process was completed." "That changed everything." "Send me every document." "Already encrypted and on the way." Marcus ended the call. At almost the same moment, alarms suddenly sounded inside Adrian's room. Doctors rushed through the doors. Vanessa stood. "What happened?" Nobody answered. More nurses entered. The doors closed. Through the glass, Vanessa could see people surrounding Adrian's bed. Minutes passed. Then 10. Then 20. Finally, the sound from one of the monitors changed. Vanessa covered her mouth. Marcus stared through the glass. A doctor eventually stepped outside. His expression said everything before he spoke. "I'm sorry." Vanessa froze. Dr. Harris removed his glasses. "Mr. Cole suffered another catastrophic cardiac event." Marcus stepped forward. "Is he?" The doctor lowered his head. "We were unable to restore an effective heartbeat." Vanessa's knees gave way. A nurse caught her. Marcus stood completely still. Adrian Cole, his closest friend, was gone. Or so everyone believed. Because later that night, after Vanessa left the hospital and Julian convinced her to meet him privately, a senior physician reviewing Adrian's case noticed something that didn't fit. A faint electrical rhythm appeared where there should have been none. Then came another signal. Weak, irregular, but unmistakable. The medical team rushed back in. And at 2:13 a.m., a doctor placed 2 fingers against Adrian Cole's neck. His eyes widened. There was a pulse. Adrian Cole was still alive. At 2:13 in the morning, Dr. Samuel Harris stood beside Adrian Cole's bed with 2 fingers pressed against his neck, convinced for one terrifying second that exhaustion was playing tricks on him. Then he felt it again. A pulse. Weak, irregular, almost impossible to detect, but undeniably there. He immediately called for the medical team. Within seconds, the quiet room exploded into movement. Nurses rushed in, monitors were reconnected, medications were prepared, and Adrian was transferred back into intensive treatment. Nobody outside the medical team was contacted yet. After what had happened earlier, Dr. Harris wanted absolute confirmation before telling anyone that a man they believed had died was somehow still fighting. Nearly an hour later, Adrian remained unconscious, but his circulation had stabilized enough for the doctors to confirm the impossible. He was alive. His condition was still critical and there was no guarantee he would recover, but the death declaration had been made during an extraordinarily unstable medical crisis in which his signs of life had become exceptionally difficult to detect. The hospital immediately began reviewing exactly what had happened. Dr. Harris, however, had another concern. Adrian's toxicology results had returned with abnormalities that required further investigation. He couldn't yet say what caused them and he refused to speculate, but combined with the strange circumstances surrounding Adrian's collapse, he knew this case could no longer be treated as an ordinary medical emergency. At 3:07 a.m. Marcus Reed's phone rang. He was sitting alone in Adrian's private office at Cole Meridian headquarters. He hadn't been able to go home after leaving the hospital. Adrian had been his client for 15 years and his closest friend for almost as long. Marcus had spent the previous hour staring at estate documents he never imagined he'd actually need. He answered without checking the number. Marcus Reed. Mr. Reed, this is Dr. Harris from St. Matthew's. Marcus closed his eyes. If the hospital was calling, he assumed there was paperwork to complete. Yes, doctor. There was a pause. Mr. Cole is alive. Marcus stopped breathing. What? Your client is alive. Marcus stood so quickly that his chair rolled backward. You told us he died. I know. Doctor, what are you saying? I'm saying Mr. Cole has a pulse, circulation has been restored, and he's receiving intensive treatment. Marcus gripped the edge of his desk. Is he conscious? No. Will he survive? We don't know. Marcus closed his eyes. For the first time that night, hope returned. Then Dr. Harris added something that immediately changed Marcus's expression. There's another reason I'm calling. What? We've received preliminary laboratory findings that require additional review. Given the circumstances, I believe appropriate authorities and Mr. Cole's designated representatives may need to be involved. Marcus became completely still. Are you saying somebody caused this? I'm not saying that. But you're concerned. I'm saying we need to establish facts before making conclusions. Marcus understood. Does Vanessa know he's alive? No. Has anyone told her? Not from my team. Marcus looked toward the documents scattered across his desk. Please don't disclose his condition beyond those medically and legally required until you've followed hospital protocol. I'm coming immediately. Dr. Harris made no promise beyond what privacy rules and medical obligations allowed, but Marcus understood that Adrian's survival was not going to become public information that second. He called Cole Meridian's security chief before leaving. I need the footage from Adrian's house tonight. We're still copying it. Prioritize the dining room, kitchen, entrances, and exterior cameras. Understood. And preserve the original files. Already secured. Marcus grabbed his jacket. Then stopped. He remembered the message his investigator had sent earlier. Julian Cross was more than $20 million in financial trouble. Julian had researched Adrian's estate. Julian had contacted an estate consultant about Vanessa's access after Adrian's death. And now Adrian had nearly died after drinking something Vanessa prepared. Marcus didn't know what had happened, but he knew enough not to ignore the pattern. Across town, Vanessa was sitting inside a luxury hotel suite with Julian. A bottle of champagne stood unopened on the table. Julian had ordered it. Vanessa hadn't touched it. You should drink something, he said. She stared through the window. My husband died tonight. Julian remained silent. Vanessa turned. And you ordered champagne. I thought you needed something to calm down. Champagne. Julian sighed. Vanessa, don't turn this into something it isn't. She laughed bitterly. What exactly is this, Julian? He walked toward her. It's the end of a terrible night. No. She looked directly at him. It's the beginning of something I don't understand. He stopped. Vanessa pulled out her phone. You told me that drink would make Adrian sick. Julian's expression tightened. We already discussed this. No. You talked. I listened. She stepped closer. What did you give me? It wasn't supposed to kill him. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Then what was it supposed to do? Julian looked away. That frightened her more than an answer. You said he'd be sick for a few days. I was told it wasn't dangerous. Told by who? Silence. Julian. He rubbed his forehead. Vanessa, right now none of this matters. My husband is dead. And screaming about it won't bring him back. She stared at him. The coldness in his voice was unmistakable. Then Julian said something even worse. We need to think about what happens next. Vanessa's expression changed. What happens next? The estate. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Adrian hasn't been dead for 6 hours. I know. And you're talking about his money? Our future depends on what happens legally. Vanessa stepped backward. Our future? Julian approached her. You said you wanted a life with me. I wanted a divorce. You said you couldn't walk away with nothing. I never said I wanted Adrian dead. Neither did I. Vanessa stared at him. But for the first time, she wasn't sure she believed him. Julian reached for the champagne bottle. Adrian is gone. Nothing can change that now. He opened it. The cork popped. Vanessa flinched. Julian poured 2 glasses and handed one toward her. Whatever happened tonight, we have to survive it. Vanessa didn't take the glass. Julian raised his own. To a new beginning. She looked disgusted. Put that down. Vanessa. Put it down. He slammed the glass onto the table. Champagne spilled across the marble surface. You need to get control of yourself. No. She shook her head. I think I'm finally getting control of myself. She picked up her handbag. I'm leaving. Julian moved between her and the door. Where? Home. You shouldn't be alone. I'd rather be alone than here. He stared at her. Then his voice softened. Before you go, delete our messages. Vanessa froze. Again. Always the messages. Always the evidence. Why are you so afraid of my phone? I'm protecting you. Or yourself. His expression answered before his mouth could. Vanessa walked around him. This time he didn't stop her. But as the hotel door closed behind her, Julian immediately pulled out another phone. Not the one Vanessa knew about. He dialed a number. A man answered. Julian spoke quietly. We have a problem. Back at the hospital, Marcus arrived shortly before 4. Dr. Harris met him privately. He's stable enough for the moment. Marcus looked through the glass. Adrian was surrounded by equipment. But his neurological condition is still uncertain. We need time. Marcus nodded. And the lab results? Dr. Harris chose his words carefully. There's enough concern that further testing and documentation are underway. I'm not going to identify a cause until the evidence supports one. Understood. Marcus appreciated the caution. He didn't need theories. He needed facts. At 5:20 a.m., Cole Meridian Security sent him the first preserved video clip from Adrian's house. Marcus opened it on his laptop. The footage showed Vanessa preparing dinner. Nothing unusual. Then another clip. Vanessa standing at the bar. She took a small item from her handbag. Marcus leaned toward the screen. The camera angle wasn't clear enough to identify it. Vanessa looked toward the dining room. Then added something to Adrian's drink. Marcus replayed the clip. What? Twice? 3 times. His stomach turned. But the footage also captured something else. Several minutes before preparing the drink, Vanessa had been standing near the kitchen entrance looking at her phone. The security system had no view of her screen. But the timestamp mattered. Marcus checked Adrian's preserved phone records. A message from Julian had arrived within the same minute. The contents weren't immediately available to him, but the timing was enough to justify preserving everything for investigators. Marcus closed the laptop. He didn't feel victorious. He felt sick. At 7:40 that morning, Adrian moved. A nurse noticed his fingers twitch. Then his eyelids. Dr. Harris was called immediately. Mr. Cole? Adrian's eyes slowly opened. Everything was blurry. He tried to move. Don't. Dr. Harris leaned closer. You're in the hospital. Adrian struggled to focus. Van? His voice barely existed. Don't try to speak yet. Adrian's breathing became faster. Vanessa? Dr. Harris didn't answer the question directly. You're safe. Adrian closed his eyes. Images flashed through his mind. Dinner. The drink. The floor. Vanessa. Her phone. Then the message. Is it done? His eyes opened again. Marcus. Dr. Harris leaned closer. You want Marcus Reed? Adrian gave the smallest nod. 30 minutes later, Marcus entered the room. When he saw Adrian awake, he had to stop himself from crying. You are unbelievably difficult to get rid of. Adrian almost smiled. Marcus moved beside the bed. Don't talk unless you have to. Adrian whispered anyway. Vanessa? She believes you're dead. Adrian stared at him. Marcus continued. At least, she did when she left the hospital. Adrian's eyes hardened. Julian. We know about him. Adrian swallowed painfully. The drink. Marcus leaned closer. What about it? Adrian struggled for breath. She gave. I know. Adrian looked confused. Security footage. Marcus paused. It shows Vanessa adding something to your drink. Adrian closed his eyes. The confirmation hurt more than the physical pain. Marcus placed a hand gently on his shoulder. But we don't know what she believed she was giving you. We don't know the full story yet. Adrian looked back at him. Don't tell her. Marcus frowned. What? Don't? Adrian gathered enough strength to finish. Tell Vanessa I'm alive. Marcus stared at him. Adrian, you're asking me to? Please. There was something in Adrian's eyes Marcus recognized immediately. Not revenge. Determination. Adrian whispered. If she thinks I'm dead. He stopped to catch his breath. We find out what they do next. Marcus didn't like it, but he understood the logic. Only if the doctors and legal process allow it. We don't obstruct anyone who has a right or duty to know. Adrian gave a faint nod. Marcus leaned closer. What do you want me to do? Adrian closed his eyes. Then whispered 3 words. Protect the company. Marcus nodded. Already done. And my mother. She's safe. Adrian's expression softened briefly, then hardened again. Find the truth. Marcus stood. I will. What neither man knew was that Vanessa was already doing exactly the same thing. Because when she reached home that morning, she opened the backup of her messages with Julian. She began reading conversations from months earlier. Not emotionally. Carefully. Searching dates. Comparing statements. Looking for anything she'd missed. Then she found a message Julian had accidentally sent and quickly deleted weeks earlier. The backup had preserved it. It contained only one sentence. Once Adrian is gone, she won't know she was part of it. Vanessa stared at the screen. Her entire body went cold. She read the sentence again. Then understood. Julian hadn't been talking to her. He had been talking about her. And suddenly Vanessa realized the terrifying truth. She hadn't been Julian's partner in some plan to temporarily remove Adrian from the way. She had been his cover. And if Adrian was dead, Vanessa was perfectly positioned to take the blame. Vanessa read the message again. Once Adrian is gone, she won't know she was part of it. Her hands began trembling so badly that she nearly dropped the phone. She sat alone at the kitchen island in the same room where Adrian had collapsed less than 24 hours earlier. The broken glass had been cleaned away. The chair had been pushed back into place. To anyone walking into the house, the room looked normal again. But Vanessa could still see Adrian falling. She could still hear the glass hitting the floor. And now she understood something far more terrifying than the possibility that Julian had lied to her. He had planned for her to take the blame. Vanessa immediately began searching through the backup of their conversations. She stopped reading them as a woman searching for proof of an affair and started reading them as evidence. Julian had been careful. Whenever he discussed Adrian directly, his language was vague. He rarely used words that could be interpreted as threats. Instead, he talked about timing, opportunities, and the future. But now those harmless phrases felt completely different. Then Vanessa found another conversation from 6 weeks earlier. Julian had asked whether Adrian normally drank at dinner. She had answered without thinking. Usually 1 drink. Another message asked whether Adrian had food allergies. Another asked whether their home had live-in staff. At the time, Vanessa assumed Julian was simply curious about Adrian's lifestyle. Now every question made her stomach turn. She searched further. Then she found a photograph Julian had sent her of a small unmarked packet. His message beneath it said, "This will make him feel awful for a couple days. Nothing permanent." Vanessa remembered that conversation perfectly. She had been furious because Adrian had announced an important business retreat on the same weekend she and Julian wanted to travel together. Julian suggested making Adrian mildly ill so he would cancel. Vanessa initially refused. Then Julian manipulated her. "You aren't hurting him. You're buying yourself 2 days. He'll think it's food poisoning." Vanessa had eventually agreed. She hated herself for it now. Whatever she believed the substance would do, she had knowingly put something into her husband's drink without his consent. There was no innocent explanation for that. She had betrayed Adrian long before the glass touched his lips. Vanessa covered her face and began crying. "I'm sorry." But there was nobody there to hear her. The man who deserved the apology was, as far as she knew, Dead. Her phone suddenly rang. Julian. Vanessa stared at his name. She didn't answer. It stopped. Then rang again. She needed to think. If she confronted him immediately, he might disappear. If she told him she'd found the backup, he might destroy whatever evidence remained. Vanessa wiped her tears. For the first time since beginning the affair, she stopped behaving emotionally. She answered. Hello. Where have you been? His voice was impatient. Home. You shouldn't be there. Why? Because investigators may search the house. Vanessa forced herself to remain calm. Why would investigators search anything? Pause. Because Adrian died unexpectedly. People die unexpectedly every day. Another pause. Julian changed his tone. How are you feeling? Terrible. I'm sorry. The words sounded completely empty now. Vanessa looked at the message on her screen. Once Adrian is gone, she won't know she was part of it. She whispered, I need you. Julian immediately softened. I'm here. Can we meet? Of course. Not the hotel. Where? Vanessa thought quickly. The lake house. When? Tonight. Julian hesitated. Why there? Because I don't want anyone seeing us together. That explanation satisfied him. 8 o'clock. Okay. Vanessa ended the call. Then she did something Julian never expected. She called Marcus. At the hospital, Marcus was sitting beside Adrian when his phone vibrated. He looked at the screen. Vanessa. Adrian noticed. Her? Marcus nodded. Adrian's expression changed. Answer. Marcus stepped into the hallway. Vanessa. Her voice was shaking. I need to talk to you. About what? Not on the phone. Then come to my office. No. She lowered her voice. I think Julian used me. Marcus became completely still. What does that mean? I found messages. What messages? Messages he deleted. Vanessa, don't delete anything else. Don't alter the device. Preserve exactly what you have. I backed them up. Good. She started crying. Marcus. What? I put something in Adrian's drink. Marcus already knew from the security footage. But hearing her admit it was different. What? Julian gave it to me. Marcus said nothing. He told me it would only make Adrian sick. Why would you agree to that? I don't know. That's not good enough. I know. Her voice broke. I was selfish, angry, stupid. Pick whichever word you want. I wanted Adrian to miss a business trip so Julian and I could get away. Marcus closed his eyes. And you secretly gave your husband an unknown substance? I thought I knew what it was. You didn't. I know that now. Marcus looked through the glass at Adrian. Where is Julian? I'm meeting him tonight. No. I need him to admit what he did. Absolutely not. Marcus. If you believe this man deceived you into giving Adrian something dangerous, you do not meet him alone. Vanessa lowered her voice. I already told him I'd meet him. Marcus thought quickly. Don't change the plan without speaking to the proper investigators. And don't try to manufacture some private confession yourself. What should I do? For once, Vanessa. Marcus's voice softened slightly. Tell the complete truth. There was silence. Then she whispered, I will. Marcus ended the call and returned to Adrian's room. Adrian looked at him. What? Marcus sat down. Vanessa admitted putting something in your drink. Adrian's expression hardened. She says Julian told her it would only make you temporarily sick. Adrian turned his face away. For several seconds he said nothing. Then quietly asked, Do you believe her? I believe the evidence should answer that. Adrian looked back at him. Good. Marcus continued. She also found deleted messages suggesting Julian may have been planning something she didn't understand. Adrian's eyes narrowed. She called you? Yes. Why? Because she's afraid of him. Adrian closed his eyes. The emotional conflict on his face was impossible to miss. Vanessa had betrayed him. She had cheated. She had secretly put something in his drink. Yet she might also have been manipulated into participating in something far worse than she intended. None of that made her innocent. But it might mean she wasn't the person who wanted him dead. Adrian whispered, Let the investigators handle it. Marcus nodded. That's exactly what we're doing. Later that afternoon, Vanessa voluntarily met with investigators and turned over her phone, the backup of her conversations and the remaining material Julian had given her. She told them about the affair, the estate discussions, the plan to make Adrian temporarily ill. Everything. She didn't ask for immunity. She didn't ask Marcus to protect her. She simply told the truth. By evening, a controlled meeting at the lake house was arranged under professional supervision. Vanessa was instructed not to improvise and not to confront Julian physically. Her safety came first. At exactly 8, headlights appeared outside. Julian arrived alone. He entered the lake house and immediately noticed Vanessa's expression. "You look terrible. My husband died yesterday." "Vanessa?" She stepped away when he tried to touch her. Julian sighed. "We can't keep doing this." "Doing what?" "Acting like you suddenly loved Adrian." The words cut deeply. Vanessa looked at him. "I did love him. You were sleeping with me." "I know." Julian walked toward the bar. "You made your choice months ago." Vanessa watched him pour himself water. Then she asked, "What was in the packet?" Julian stopped. "What?" "The thing I put in Adrian's drink." His back remained toward her. "We've discussed this." "No. You told me it would make him sick." "It was supposed to." Vanessa's heartbeat accelerated. "Supposed to." Julian slowly turned. "People react differently." "Did you know it could kill him?" "No." "Look at me." "He did." "Did you know?" "No." Vanessa studied his face, then asked the question she'd been terrified to ask. "Why were you researching Adrian's estate?" Julian's expression changed. "Barely. But enough. Because you asked me what would happen in a divorce." "No. I asked what I would receive if I left him." "Same thing." "No, Julian." She stepped closer. "You asked what happened if Adrian died." Julian stared at her. "Who told you that?" "That was the wrong answer." Vanessa felt tears filling her eyes. "You did." He frowned. "I found the messages." Silence. "What messages?" "The ones you deleted." Julian's face changed completely. Vanessa continued. "I found the one where you said I wouldn't know I was part of it." Julian said nothing. "You used me." His eyes moved toward the windows. Then the doors. Vanessa noticed. "So it's true. You're confused. You wanted him dead." "No. You knew I'd be blamed." Vanessa, calm down. "You gave me something and made sure I was the one who put it in his glass." Julian stepped toward her. "Stop talking." She stepped backward. "Why?" "Because you have no idea what you're saying. You needed Adrian gone because you're broke." His expression hardened. "Who told you that?" $20 million, Julian." Now he knew. Someone else was involved. He walked toward her. Vanessa backed away. "Stay there." "Give me your phone." "No." "Vanessa." "Don't come closer." Julian's calm facade disappeared. "Give me the phone." He moved toward her. Before he reached her, the side door opened. Investigators entered. "Mr. Cross, step away from her." Julian froze. His face went completely pale. Vanessa began crying. Julian looked at her with pure hatred. "You set me up." She shook her head. "No. You set me up first." Julian was detained while investigators continued gathering evidence. The meeting alone didn't prove every allegation, but combined with the preserved communications, financial records, and physical evidence under review, authorities now had far more to investigate. Vanessa remained at the lake house after everyone left. She sat alone on the sofa until sunrise. There was no celebration. No fortune. No new life. Only the realization that Adrian was gone. And she had helped create the circumstances that nearly killed him. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the hospital. Adrian was stronger. Still weak. But awake. Marcus sat beside him. "They have Julian." Adrian nodded slowly. "And Vanessa?" "Cooperating." Adrian looked toward the window. "Does she still think I'm dead?" Marcus hesitated. "For now, yes. But that can't continue indefinitely. Your condition is stabilizing, and the appropriate people will have to be informed." Adrian nodded. He understood. This had never been about torturing Vanessa with a lie. They needed time to protect evidence and establish what had happened. Now that time was ending. Adrian whispered, "I want to tell her myself." Marcus studied him. "Are you sure?" "No." Adrian looked toward him. "But I need to see her face." That afternoon, Vanessa received a call from Dr. Harris. "Mrs. Cole?" Her heart sank. She expected questions about Adrian's remains or hospital paperwork. Instead, the doctor said, "I need you to come to St. Matthew's." "Why?" "There has been a significant development regarding your husband." Vanessa stood. "People react differently." "Did you know it could kill him?" "No." "Look at me." He did. Did you know? No. Vanessa studied his face, then asked the question she'd been terrified to ask. Why were you researching Adrian's estate? Julian's expression changed. Barely. But enough. Because you asked me what would happen in a divorce. No. I asked what I would receive if I left him. Same thing. No, Julian. She stepped closer. You asked what happened if Adrian died. Julian stared at her. Who told you that? That was the wrong answer. Vanessa felt tears filling her eyes. You did. He frowned. I found the messages. Silence. What messages? The ones you deleted. Julian's face changed completely. Vanessa continued. I found the one where you said I wouldn't know I was part of it. Julian said nothing. You used me. His eyes moved toward the windows. Then the doors. Vanessa noticed. So it's true. You're confused. You wanted him dead. No. You knew I'd be blamed. Vanessa, calm down. You gave me something and made sure I was the one who put it in his glass. Julian stepped toward her. Stop talking. She stepped backward. Why? Because you have no idea what you're saying. You needed Adrian gone because you're broke. His expression hardened. Who told you that? $20 million, Julian? Now he knew. Someone else was involved. He walked toward her. Vanessa backed away. Stay there. Give me your phone. No. Vanessa. Don't come closer. Julian's calm facade disappeared. Give me the phone. He moved toward her. Before he reached her, the side door opened. Investigators entered. Mr. Cross, step away from her. Julian froze. His face went completely pale. Vanessa began crying. Julian looked at her with pure hatred. You set me up. She shook her head. No. You set me up first. Julian was detained while investigators continued gathering evidence. The meeting alone didn't prove every allegation, but combined with the preserved communications, financial records, and physical evidence under review, authorities now had far more to investigate. Vanessa remained at the lake house after everyone left. She sat alone on the sofa until sunrise. There was no celebration, no fortune, no new life, only the realization that Adrian was gone, and she had helped create the circumstances that nearly killed him. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the hospital. Adrian was stronger, still weak, but awake. Marcus sat beside him. They have Julian. Adrian nodded slowly. And Vanessa? Cooperating. Adrian looked toward the window. Does she still think I'm dead? Marcus hesitated. For now, yes. But that can't continue indefinitely. Your condition is stabilizing, and the appropriate people will have to be informed. Adrian nodded. He understood. This had never been about torturing Vanessa with a lie. They needed time to protect evidence and establish what had happened. Now that time was ending. Adrian whispered, I want to tell her myself. Marcus studied him. Are you sure? No. Adrian looked toward him. But I need to see her face. That afternoon, Vanessa received a call from Dr. Harris. Mrs. Cole? Her heart sank. She expected questions about Adrian's remains or hospital paperwork. Instead, the doctor said, I need you to come to St. Matthew's. Why? There has been a significant development regarding your husband. Vanessa stood.